this episode of Hooah, we'll be sitting down with Scott from Vet Cave here at Vet Cave headquarters. We'll be having a real conversation with a real veteran about real things we're all really going through. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Frank. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to sit down and talk with you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up, Scott?
I was a military brat. My dad was in the Navy, so we traveled around a lot. I called Texas home. That's pretty much where I spent the majority of my time growing up. Little time spent in Scotland, which was awesome, and a little traveling around, but Texas is pretty much home.
So you're a military brat. I don't want to make any assumptions. Did this lead you into your service in the military?
It kind of led into it. My grandfather was in the Air Force and my dad was in the Navy, so I figured why not follow the trend and go Army, and it worked out well.
Yeah. Heritage of service.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Now you're no longer in, yeah?
Correct.
And so what did you transition into?
I served during 9/11, and then in 2004, my knee blew out, and so that was kind of right at the time that I was supposed to do my first deployment to Iraq. In retrospect, I'm kind of thinking the knee blowing out and me not having to get out of the Army might have been a good thing. The transition out of it was that I had just started my MBA degree, so I spent the next 2 years after that working on my MBA.
So you stayed driven and focused on that.
Absolutely.
And what'd you do with that?
I've done a lot of entrepreneurial stuff and just worked a lot of jobs in kind of the business realm. Okay. So pretty much built a pretty diverse work experience.
That's good. In your transitioning into civilian life and as you were getting out, and even now as you carry on and you build businesses and you're doing what you're doing, did this traumatic event, did it affect you? Did it continue to affect you?
Probably psychologically. I grew up playing soccer, played in college, played a little semi-pro, and just having that injury and not being able to play, it's kind of depressing. It did heal up to the point where I could get back into soccer, but not to the level that I would have liked to.
How do you give back now? How do you participate in service now, and what is service to you now?
As far as military service or service in general?
Just service in general, because now you've got this service orientation in you, right? So, what do you do to provide service now?
I think Vet Cave was really an opportunity that came along at the right time. I kind of have gotten to the point in my life where I do want to give back and to the community or to whatever, and the fact that I'm able to transition into work with Vet Cave, it helps me help veterans, which is, I think, a good cause. And if I'm going to give back to any community, I feel like giving back to the military community is great.
That's awesome. What is Vet Cave?
Vet Cave is a neat concept that helps veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. And it basically, we build many man caves, but they're for vets, so they call them Vet Caves. The Vet Cave is there kind of as a place that the veteran with PTSD can go to deal with PTSD triggers, depression, things like that. Things that he can do that's near the family, but away from the family, so the family doesn't have to suffer from that. And so that way he can deal with those triggers and those issues and then reintegrate with the family, so that it doesn't cause too much effect on the family negatively.
Are there only specific sorts of cases that you're taking, or is like MST, military sexual trauma,
right,
things like this? Are these, qualifiers? And
yeah, I think that anything that has to do with traumatic experience are things that we would consider as qualifying events, and those are things that we will consider when we're picking out potential candidates for Vet Caves.
That's awesome. So building sort of a fortress of solitude for these.
Right, and that's kind of the first part of it, is give them a place to deal with their PTSD. The second thing is a lot of people that deal with depression and post-traumatic stress disorder have a hard time working a 9 to 5 and working in the workplace. So we want to teach them entrepreneurial skills and give them the opportunity to build a business for themselves if they like to. So if they're interested in anything particular, want to start a company about anything in general, then we'll help them get set up and help them pursue that path.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Thank you for that. I think that this is a wonderful thing. I think participating in service after service helps us to rise, and keep ourselves sharp and better and healing,
Right.
keep
Definitely.
us well. Well, Scott, I appreciated sitting with you, man, for a few minutes and having a conversation. I look forward to seeing you guys seeing you succeed with this Vet Cave endeavor. I think it's a great idea, and I look forward to seeing what it can do to help others.
I appreciate that, Frank.
Yeah.
All right.